Hey Deckers, For Honor has got a nice update, so it now fully works on Steam Deck, including full multiplayer. It's really great to see Steam Deck being mentioned in the patch notes, specifically called out here with an easy anti-cheat update, making it work on the Steam Deck. We can certainly vouch for this one, and we're so happy we've made a gameplay and best settings guide for you here on the channel. So here is a multiplayer match with Breach with players, and it did turn out we had a couple of bots end up. I'm guessing a couple of people left during the game, but it is working fantastically well. Ignore the frames per second at this stage because there is a bug in the Steam Deck beta, which is why I've got the nice new layout at the top here. With the external screens, the frame rate cap doesn't seem to report the correct figure, so this is actually running at 60 frames per second. And if you run the game with adaptive VSync, it does work incredibly well on the Steam Deck itself, but on external monitors this does seem to cause a bit of an issue. But running this at the medium settings with motion blur off, and if you're on the deck itself, keep that adaptive VSync on, but I do have to mess around with it and turn off VSync on this video because of that capture issue. So this 30 frames per second is the frame rate capped on the Steam Deck, even though that it says 60. So if you do run into this issue where it's capping at the wrong FPS, then just turn off the frame limit on the Steam Deck. As you can see, with the medium settings and the VSync off and the frame rate off on the Steam Deck, it's holding between 50 and 60 frames per second. Moving these down to low settings does seem to make it look pretty bad. High settings, or the very high, which it defaults to, does look incredible, but struggles to hold more than 40 frames per second. And this is a game where you do really need to concentrate on your blocks. So having a few extra frames for that reaction time is really important. I did also find that capping the frame rate on the Steam Deck itself introduced some latency, so it did make those blocks a little bit harder. So make sure that frame rate limit on the Steam Deck is off as well, and go with medium or a mix of medium to low settings for this. Especially in the multiplayer matches, as you can see, it does dip to the 40s to 50s quite regularly. But the medium settings I did find to be a very good starting ground to get that mix of decent graphics and also the minimal input latency. On the single player side, keeping the medium settings was absolutely fine and actually held a 60 frames per second solid most of the time, and it did go up to 70 on occasion with no VSync. I'm not quite sure. Again, I think this is a bug with the SteamOS 3.5 beta, but overall the performance was incredible, and it does play fantastically well on the Steam Deck, holding 60 frames per second most of the time. Let us know if you're going to be diving into For Honor. I do need to warn you that there are a few issues with the Ubisoft launcher originally. It did take a couple of game restarts for all of the updates to complete, and logging into the Ubisoft launcher was a bit of a pain, but I did only have to do it once. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.